joining me for another training for this CSR or Client Service Representative certification. Today we're going to be talking about soft skills and communications. So soft skills are basically the skills you use in communication to build rapport with people and have a good understanding of them as a person so that you can communicate with them more effectively. So hard skills are things like technical skills, like your ability to send an email or maybe use Zoom while you're hosting a video meeting with a client, or using project management software. Soft skills are more intrapersonal, meaning person to person, being able to effectively communicate with somebody while making them feel comfortable with you at the same time. So we're going to talk about some techniques on how to do that today. Some people are just naturally really good with soft skills and they're very good at connecting with people genuinely. And so they naturally have good soft skills. And other people do not, and they have to work on their soft skills. It is actually something you can work on and build up. Just because you're not naturally a people person doesn't mean that you can't kind of build on this. If you have experience in customer service and you've dealt with a lot of people, through experience in dealing with people on a regular basis, you can naturally build up soft skills as well. But today we're going to talk about techniques to actually deploy soft skills in a technical way, so that you can be more of an interpersonal communicator. So one thing to do when you start a conversation, whether it's on the phone or on Zoom, anytime, especially with the client, is always ask them how their day is going. Always say, you greet each other and don't just jump into business right away. Having good soft skills means you need to connect with somebody. And this doesn't take a very long time. You don't have to go into a long conversation. You're simply saying, great, hey, how is your day going? And that's it. And it's kind of a closed-ended question, because they could just say good, bad, Closed-ended questions usually just have like a yes or no answer or a single word answer, like yes, no, good, bad, things like that. But we want to start out by trying to connect with them. Even though it's a closed-ended question, it's good to open up with something just simple as how is your day going? Or it's even better to say, what do you have going on today? What do you have going on today is a great way to open as well, because it's more open-ended. And what that does is they might say, well, this morning I did X, Y, and Z. Or today I did this and that, or this thing happened just not that long ago. And when you're keeping it to that day, that doesn't turn into too big of a conversation, because usually if you talk to somebody, say, what have you had going on today so far? Do you have anything going on today, or what's been going on today for you so far? It's more of a brief description. They're just talking about that day. So I actually like to say, what do you have going on today? Okay. You can ask them how their day is going, but they might say good, bad, that sort of thing. But I would also recommend following that up right away with what else do you have going, or what have you had going on today? What else have you had going on today? Things like that. So that's going to open people up to kind of connect with you a little bit more. And then you want to link back to what they say, maybe relate to it and say, yeah, I've experienced that too. Or, hey, my day's been kind of crazy too, but hey, I'm glad we're on a call together, or something like that. So you want to try to connect with people in a personal way to begin the call, or begin the communication. In email, it's more of a formal. Email is much more formal, and you can't really do it through email. You can say, I hope you're having a good day, or like, hello, XYZ client, I hope your day is going well. Boom, then, state the email. Sometimes you can connect with people personally in email by using a PS line, by saying PS. Maybe if you know something about it, like if you know when their birthday is or something, you say, P.S., looks like your birthday is coming up. I hope you have a good one. P.S., it looks like, you guys have had some great sales. Congratulations. So usually you can connect a little bit more in email by using a personalized PS line after your sign off. So next point is no acronyms or like marketing speak or like esoteric language. Esoteric means something specific to a certain space or industry that only the people in it are familiar with. So a lot of our clients are business people and maybe even have some experience with digital marketing and even Facebook ads, but even then there's going to be a lot of things that they have no idea what the acronym means. So when you say things like IG, when you refer to Instagram, or CAPI, which is Conversions API, which is a tracking system that we set up for clients in Meta, or KPI, which is Key Performance Indicator, or even CSR, acronyms that we use amongst each other maybe to speed up our conversation and use esoteric language. It's not appropriate for a client when you're trying to be personal with them. They want to know you're taking time to explain things, and that you're being more conscious of the communication with them and intentional. So don't use these acronyms that you might see in our standard operating procedures, and say things out in full like Instagram, or simplify things like CAPI to pixel data tracking or metapixel, key performance indicator report, or client success representative, not CSR. Don't say that stuff to clients. Do not use acronyms in your emails to clients, for sure. Definitely type it out in an email. Just using acronyms in an email is a little bit lazy. You want to take the time to type out the whole word. When you're speaking to them, be more conscious and say, the other client service representative that will be helping you with your account, your creative projects, and working with our team to optimize the ads, their name is Saeed. He's great, and he's a great client service representative. I'll be warm transferring you to him tomorrow. That would be an example of using simple language to describe something without using acronyms or esoteric language. So speak simply when you describe things, that a client may not understand, or if more definitions, specific definitions are used. Don't explain operations to client in detailed fashions. We've kind of covered this a little bit, but it is important to explain steps to clients, but these steps must be explained by laying out the expected results that the client's going to get, not the process for the results. And that's the difference. Explaining the results that they get versus the process is what clients really care about. If you tell a client in very simple language, I'll send you the first video draft for your approval in 3 to 4 days, Rick. Sound good? Great. Okay, a bad example would be to say, okay, Rick, the next step is for me to create a ticket in the Trello board that we share with the creative agency that we use to process video graphics to make sure that we get your video ready for publishing as an ad. I'll let you know when they come up with that, and then send you the first draft when it's ready. That sounds really bad, and you're going to make the client worried because you just laid out a big process that they have no idea about, and that they're just going to hope you're managing the right way. The best thing to do is to just explain the result that they get. In the good example, I'll send you the first video ad draft, which is the result, for your approval in 3 to 4 days. I set a timeline, okay? So you see the difference there. In the other example, I didn't give a timeline. I just laid out a big, long process with a bunch of stuff that they don't understand, which is really bad. So you need to speak very simply, plainly, and don't talk about process, talk about results, okay? That's what the client cares about. All right, so make sure that when you're communicating with clients, you're not getting into politics or religion with the clients, okay? So when a client brings up political ideas or religious ideas, always confirm with the person that you hear what they're saying so they feel heard, but then redirect by saying, let's refocus on. So, if somebody brings up some sort of political idea or religious idea, you don't want to really, from a professional standpoint, you don't want to get dragged into long philosophical conversations or political conversations or religious ideology. It's okay to share a little bit about that stuff, maybe if you relate with the client and you want to connect with them a little bit more, as long as you're not going too far into it. You need to refocus the conversation. So, for example, if somebody says, politically, I really don't like this one political party, then you say, oh, yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from. I understand what you're saying, but hey, let's refocus real quick back to this other question here. Okay. So always try to refocus things back to what you're working on if people kind of wander off into these spaces, and be careful not to share too much about your own personal views on politics or religion. If the client is asking you personal questions, you feel comfortable discussing with them about your religion or vice versa, it's okay as long as the meeting is not taken over by this conversation and neglecting the business goals of the conversation. Don't dwell on these personal discussions for more than 1 minute, because they can quickly overtake the primary purpose of the meeting. And so, an example of this might be like if you are like, hey, in my country, the predominant religion is X, Y, and Z religion, and on this day we kind of celebrate this one holiday. So maybe similar to something that you guys have or whatever. But anyway, let's refocus back onto this ad proof, right? It actually helps create a little bit of a personal connection, so there is a positive aspect to it, but it can quickly lead into wasting a lot of time on the meeting. We're always on a deadline. You're paid by the hour, and I'm not paying you by the hour to talk politics with clients or religion with clients. It's okay, again, to share a little bit if you feel comfortable doing it and you feel it's appropriate, but tread very lightly and be very careful here. You don't want to offend a client, and you don't want to tread into an area where you make the client unhappy with you and then they cancel service because of a conversation they had with you about religion or politics. So be very careful there. If you feel like you might have conflicting ideas or something, don't bring up the conversation because it's totally unprofessional. That's not something I'm paying you to do. I'm not paying you to advocate for any sort of religious or political ideology while you're working with my clients, okay? So be sure to incorporate humor and a light tone with the client. Ask them about their day and then loop back with the open-ended follow-up question. Listen to them and be sure to move on to the next thing in the meeting. This technique helps build trust and rapport with the client. A little bit of light humor, is like you use maybe play on words, sarcasm, things like this. You want to look for opportunities to smile a little bit with the client, and ask the open-ended questions that get them to tell a story, maybe a little bit of a story, and something that you can kind of discuss with them on the side before moving on. And so, this might happen while you're discussing ad proofs with them or ad performance, things like this. Don't be robotic with your interactions with clients, asking them how where you're just kind of going through a script, because I do provide scripting for a lot of calls and general guides, but those are general guides, and the scripts are just a framework that you'll use to guide your conversation. I don't expect you to follow scripting 100%. In fact, I would recommend you do not do that and do not be robotic with your interactions with clients. One thing you can do sometimes is just simply ask them how they're feeling. In addition to like the how's your day going thing, or how's your day been going today. Relating to their personal anecdotes with your own personal experiences in an appropriate manner is key to being a successful client service representative, but also is key to success in many, many, many careers. This is called soft skills, okay? And being able to understand how to interject. And so when somebody says something and you ask, well, how are you feeling today? How are things going today? Or maybe, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about that? These are open-ended questions where they're not a one-word answer. They actually have to kind of tell you a story, and it gives you the opportunity to respond in kind, okay? So being too mechanical means you have poor soft skills, so you want to watch out for that. Soft skills are personal attributes that enable you to interact effectively and harmoniously with other people. So building these soft skills up means taking these techniques and actually practicing them with the client. Okay, being able to implement these soft skills sets you apart from just a general virtual assistant that just does general virtual assistant work, and being a much more highly paid client service representative. The difference in pay, like in the virtual working world, is 2, 3, 4 times as much for someone that can fluently speak the language and also have soft skills. Those two things are actually kind of a rare thing to find, and people pay more money for. And so it is important that you develop these soft skills and that you show them off to our clients. So respond to client communication as soon as possible. Make sure that you're responding within 24 hours, like we've talked about. And making sure that you're, following the normal training like we talked about before. For projects in progress, make sure you're giving the regular updates, and making sure you're keeping up with the clients. And you got to keep on top of these kind of technical things, but keep those soft skills in mind. And be careful also to, another thing with soft skills is not to be too negative. So always try to have a positive, upbeat attitude. Bring that, you have to bring that into your normal life so you can bring it into your work life. And sometimes it's difficult if you're going through hard things personally. But when you're with a client, you do need to be upbeat. You need to be positive and have a good attitude. And be careful not to speak badly about our company, your teammates, or a competitor, even a competitor with a client ever. Never ever speak badly or negatively about our company as an agency, about our any of your teammates, anybody else, or a competitor. If we make a mistake, if there's a mistake made working on a client account, like let's say another team member didn't set something up the right way, you actually are the one that need to take responsibility for it as the CSR, which you'll learn. We have another training where I'm going to talk more about this. But it's actually very important for you to take full responsibility, even if it's not your fault. And you don't say it's your fault, but you're going to take responsibility for the solution. There's a big difference there. So instead of saying, oh, the virtual assistant forgot to set up this automation for you, that's why you're not getting your key performance indicator report. So I'll take care of that for you. That's not what you say. If the client says, hey, I'm not getting my key performance indicator report, you just need to say, oh, well, I'm going to make sure that gets taken care of right away. Let me make sure that gets set up, and then I'm going to send you a test. Sound good? And if the client pushes on you a little bit and they're like, well, what happened? Why didn't it happen? Just let them know, hey, you know what? I'll look into it, try to see what happened. But at this point in time, what I'm going to do is take care of it for you. I'm the one that's responsible to help you with this right now. Don't go into blaming other people in the company ever. If you get caught doing this and you do this like regularly, or if it's a problem where you talk badly about our brand or the company or another teammate, even a competitor, like if we pick up an account and a competitor was working on it before and they have bad results, I'm actually I'm very careful not to criticize that competitor, because the client already knows they're bad. The client already knows the competitor is bad. And I can simply look at things that aren't right and say, well, a better way to do that would be X, Y, and Z. So that's a great way to transition into a positive conversation about a better solution with competition. If the competitor set something up the wrong way, or they just totally wasted a bunch of the client's money on advertising, which happens a lot, instead of saying, oh man, those guys suck and I can't believe they did that to you for that long. You really just, there's so many guys you can't trust out there. What you're actually doing is you're sowing seeds of negativity into their consciousness, and they're going to start thinking negatively and being like, yeah, I got ripped off. I feel so bad. And well, how do I know these guys aren't going to treat me badly? The better thing to do is when they say, oh yeah, this didn't work and here's the problem, is to look at it and say, oh yeah, I see, it's set up in this way. A better way to do that would be X, Y, and Z for these reasons. Very simple. When you see something wrong that a competitor is doing and the client actually complains to you about it sometimes, or shows you something that's wrong, you simply say, oh, I see. A better way to do it, or a way we would have done it, would be X, Y, and Z. Okay. And that's how to transition that negative talk about competition into something positive, is tie it into a solution. It's kind of similar when it's internal, and there was a mistake that we made, but mostly you're taking responsibility as the representative of our agency, and you're the one saying, okay, well, I see there's a problem, and just to be clear, it's this and that, and we're going to go over this in another training as far as how to handle complaints or client concerns, really professionally and technically. But this is also why soft skills are important, because if you're positive, you're upbeat, you're not being negative, it makes it way easier to deal with this stuff, and the client will enjoy working with you. So if a problem does arise, they're much more open to walking through it with you, versus if you're just mechanical and robotic and you just do things and you can talk to them but you never really connect with them personally, and then a problem comes up, they're much more likely to say, you know what, I don't want to work with these people because it's like working with a robot. I don't like it. People like working with positive, upbeat people that understand them. Okay, so thanks for taking the training.